Okay, so this is the website for Y Combinator. So if you have a good enough idea and it is very competitive, they're gonna give you a small amount of money, just a little itty bitty amount of money, 120K, and they're gonna help you accelerate the progress of your idea. And they have a very good track record of doing this successfully. These are some of the companies that they've invested in and helped build: Dropbox, Twitch, Reddit, Airbnb. Maybe you've heard of them. All in all, their companies are valued over $80 billion. So Y Combinator is a big deal for a lot of people. A lot of people want to get in. This is Debra Cleaver. Debra Cleaver had an idea not for a company that was going to make trillions and trillions of dough, but for a non-profit. And she wanted to get into Y Combinator. Not only did she get a meeting with folks at Y Combinator, but she says after a 10-minute interview, she walked away with a 6-figure donation by the end of the day. Now that honey is a boss, and we're gonna go talk to her today. I have an announcement to make. So this week on the Sheleader show, it is Pet Week. Pet Week! That special effect, that was dope, wasn't it? Okay, so on Thursday we're visiting someone who has the most adorable dog named Bernie. Thumbs up if you're a dog person. And then today we're gonna be visiting somebody who has 2 cats. Thumbs up if you're a cat person, which I'm probably a little too excited about. See, I grew up in a family that was a dog family, and we always made fun of cats and cat people in a loving way. But then I started watching YouTube videos where the owners would tell the cats, don't push that, don't you dare push that off the edge of that shelf. And obviously, ever since watching Thug Life Cat, I want to be a cat person. But I'm just like a poser cat person.
Poser cat person.
Yeah. Debra, I'm so excited to meet you. But I'm admittedly equally excited to meet your cats.
Conversations. Talking to myself like, why you waiting?
Oh, I'm so winded. I gotta exercise. I need to get in shape. There's a door open.
Deborah?
Hi, what's up?
Hi. How are you?
Meet you.
I've never actually met you in person.
I know.
Deborah. I need
What else?
coffee, guys. Do you guys want to come with me to get coffee? It's like across the street. Let's see what our idiot president did today.
So this is like your neighborhood coffee shop. You come here a lot?
Probably every day. If I didn't come here to buy coffee, it's possible I wouldn't like leave my house.
We're in
Do I
your
look
place?
at you or do I,
You can look at me.
okay.
This is your home, but it's also where you work.
It is technically the Vote.org corporate headquarters because we are an all remote team.
Hello.
Mona, she is the CFO of Vote.org, which stands for Chief Feline Officer. She's actually the top of the org chart and everyone else reports into her. I would say that she's an excellent member of the C-suite because she doesn't interfere with other people's work. She's really paws off. And the other one, he's hiding under the kitchen sink in his office. He's the chief of staff and he's actually excellent. He'll sit in your lap at some point, you know, and which I guess is inappropriate for a C-level executive, but he's very sweet. My friends on Facebook know this. They both have titles because I just needed coworkers. Is it okay if I drink coffee while we
drink? Yeah. We're live. It's Mary on the Sheleader show. I'm here with Debra Cleaver.
Hey, everybody.
If any question pops into your mind, you can comment below. You can also call in live to the show. Or you can direct message me your phone number and we'll get you chatting with Debra in real time. All right, let's get started.
Hi.
How's life today?
Life is excellent today.
What were you doing before you did this startup, before you did this nonprofit?
So in 2004, I was working investigating police misconduct for the city of New York, and I was also our union shop steward. I am very comfortable challenging authority and will insert myself in things that are wrong, even if it means that there will be like personal repercussions for me.
So that was all in New York, and now we're on the West Coast. How did you get over here working in tech?
Turned 30 and realized that I needed to get out of city government as quickly as humanly possible. I kept winning my union grievances, which is like a shortcut to being blacklisted. If you want to be rewarded for competence, I would say city government is not the ideal job track for you. All due respect to my friends who work in city government. So anyway, this was 2007, and Myspace was like the biggest thing on the internet, right? That's where everyone went to be social. And I posted something on Myspace that I needed a new job. I got a phone call from a friend from college offering me a job at myspace.com. I'm not making that up. If I was willing to move to LA. I can't even make it. This is so ridiculous. So I moved to LA. So I show up my first day at Myspace and I'm in like work clothes, right? And I've been working in government for years. I show up in a button-down shirt and dress slacks and I look around and I'm like, fuck, like my clothes are all wrong. And I didn't have any casual clothes. So I had to like find a site on the internet to find like cool t-shirts. And my friends in government were not very sympathetic. No one thought that this was as big a problem as I did. First time I needed like a sick day to go to like the dentist. I was like, how do I take sick leave? And people were like, for what? I was like, to go to the dentist. And they were like, just go to the dentist. So it was really interesting being treated like an adult with a work ethic. I would say the fascinating thing for me coming from government, which really seems to embrace inefficiency, was working at an organization where you could suggest something that was more efficient and then just implement it. So I didn't have any friends and I decided to start a project to help people who needed to vote by absentee ballot actually do so. The internet was completely silent on how you got an absentee ballot. So
That seems crazy.
You had to call the Secretary of State and ask. So I got 9 of my friends who were also investigating police misconduct with me to volunteer to investigate the process. We each took 5 secretaries of state, called the secretaries of state, and we interviewed them about how you get an absentee ballot in their state. And we created a website with a page of information per state. We launched in April 2008. We had $0 for advertising and we had 500,000 visitors within 6 months. Truthfully, I guess taking a step back, if you've ever done voter registration door to door, you're lucky if you register 8 people in 8 hours, and you're lucky if one of them votes. And I was like, this does not scale. And it was just kind of a theory I had that there's a significant percentage of people who are registered who aren't voting, and we should focus on them to increase turnout. And I don't know if people at home could hear this. My cat is destroying my house right now. But basically, I was like, every year we register a bajillion voters, and every year voter turnout stays constant. So maybe we should focus on voter turnout. And that's what Long Distance Voter did. Everyone who came to our site was already registered. And I'm not saying we are the only reason this happened, but when I started Long Distance Voter in 2008, 8% of Americans voted by mail, and 25% of Americans were voting by mail in 2014. And I'd like to think we played at least a little part.
You need to just like dust your shit. Yes, girl.
And I want to say again, no one ever worked at Long Distance Voter. There was no staff. No one got paid for it. It was just like a group of people.
So you're doing this side project, right? At some point you decide you want to take this full time. Obviously you're doing it full time now. How did that happen?
So I went to a corporation that was in the social impact space. I was there for 2012, which was the last presidential election, and Long Distance Voter like blew up. People started to talk to me and they were like, you need to do this full time. And I was like, no, I have a job. And they were like, instead of your job, you should have a job at Long Distance Voter. And I like honestly didn't understand it. I was like, no, but I have a job, because it appears I'm a little slow. Basically, my time came to a dramatic end. Do you want me to tell people about this?
Yeah, no, you can't say it came to a dramatic end.
I called my CEO a misogynistic prick, which I would say is a statement of fact. So suddenly I didn't have a job. and I did have a side project. And so I could say I was unemployed, or I could say I was an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur sounds better.
It does, yeah.
So that is how I became an entrepreneur.
So it's exciting to me to ask you about raising money, because you took this idea and now you fucking funded it. And there's a lot of headlines right now about funding for female founders. So what was the process like for you? And did you experience any discrimination as a female and as a gay female?
As a gay female, that's actually interesting. I think it might kind of be the opposite. I mean, I live and work in Silicon Valley, and I'm like kind of butch. And so it makes me like more like one of the guys. I mean, okay, this is something I was thinking about this morning. I have never had a male funder hit on me, like not even close. I mean, normally I'm wearing a backwards baseball hat. I can't even imagine that, but I'm not the slightest bit surprised that other women have experienced like that particular form of discrimination. Something that I experience more is that people not recognizing my expertise, even though I'm like objectively very good at what I do. How do we approach funding? Okay, so I would say there's two ways that you could fund anything, for profit, nonprofit, whatever. You could bootstrap, or you can get the equivalent of VC money. So I would say that long distance voter was definitely bootstrapped. I would put some of my money into it. We mostly did the work. It's like the old school model of don't quit your day job until you actually demonstrate that there's a need and value. And I still really support that. I think a lot of VCs are throwing money at ideas, and ideas are cheap. Execution is expensive. And we definitely executed for a long time before we saw funding. Now, some of you may have noticed that 2016 is a presidential election year. And on the off chance you somehow failed to notice this, just take my word for this. 2016 is a presidential election year. The thing that really changed for us was we got into Y Combinator last year. So Vote.org is a tech group. We use technology, and it costs us on average $4 to register a voter. Everyone else is spending between $12 and $315 to register a single voter, which is patently absurd. So this is what the rest of the year looks like for us. There are 77 days until the presidential election, and I'm going to need the people in this room, like literally you guys, to help me raise $600,000 over the next 15 days so that we can directly contact 1.2 million potential voters in swing states and encourage them to register to vote. Like, it wasn't really a pitch. I just said, I need this money and I need it this week. The YC partners gave us money, and basically Silicon Valley has been very good to Vote.org.
What are the things that you've learned after getting the funding and actually using this money to grow your idea?
First of all, like proof of concept, you should have a proof of concept. Like, if you are lucky enough to get a seed round despite not having a proof of concept, like haul ass and prove your concept. I would say a lot of people get funding that shouldn't, and it's based on a lot of like discriminatory factors like race and gender. I mean, just keep pushing. If you're not a straight white man, like just keep pushing. There are people who are aware of this. We've been really fortunate in that we've only gotten smart money, like meaning the people who fund us trust us to do our work, and then hire the absolute best people you can find and trust them. Like, you have to trust your team.
Do you have any advice for hiring?
Yes. So we just hired 2 female engineers, which was the result of a nationwide search. People will tell you that there just aren't qualified female engineers. That is bullshit. We worked really hard on our job description to remove like discriminatory language, or not even discriminatory. Okay, there's certain words, rock star, ninja, just remove that garbage. That's just like a dog whistle that says male, and you probably don't mean it, but you're not hiring a rock star or a ninja, you're hiring a software engineer. Like, competent adults are not going to respond well to that. Women won't apply unless they have like 100% of the qualifications, whereas men will apply if they have 0. So we had an exceptionally short list of like, you must have these qualifications to apply, and then a very long list of nice to have. If you were a woman, you automatically got a phone interview. We just like moved you ahead. We didn't worry about your previous job titles or anything like that, because men often have inflated titles because they ask for them. And then everyone had the exact same phone screening, the exact same technical interview.
That makes so much sense though.
We just removed bias in that initial prompt to get resumes. In the job description, it said, so if you need 3 to 5 off every day to pick your kids up from school, that's fine. We strongly encourage new parents to apply. Like, we did all these things to make it really clear that it is cool with us if you have kids.
You're doing really, really big shit. Like, this
try.
is amazing.
I try. Thank you.
And you said a little while ago, people were saying, well, you should do this full time. And you were saying, well, I don't get it. I have a full time, I don't understand. What would you tell that person?
I still think, look, like it is hard to raise VC money. It's really hard to get a small business loan. I don't think people should quit their day jobs. I think you should do something at night and on weekends and see if there's a market for it before you throw like caution into the wind and like quit your day job. And also if you take VC money, you run a for-profit, I mean, they're taking a percentage of your company. Whereas if you could build a business and then take a small business loan, I mean, you're not giving someone else ownership of your company. But like personally, I mean, people pitch me on ideas all the time now. They're always like, I just need $850,000. I don't know why that's the magic number, but it's always 850, which is a lot of money. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do if you don't get 850? And they're like, well, I can't do anything. And I'm like, well, then why would I give you money? A website on a shared hosting plan is $12 a month. Like if you can't use the internet without money, I mean, why would anyone give you money? And like my favorite projects from this year, like Indivisible started as a Google Doc. Google Docs are free.
What's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur and what's the best part?
It's the same answer. The hardest part of being an entrepreneur is that something great is always coming and something terrible is always coming, and you don't know what either one of those things are, but you know without a doubt they're both on their way. One day I woke up and I found out, this was before YC, that I hadn't gotten into this accelerator, and they had asked me to apply 3 years in a row and rejected me 3 years in a row. And I was so bummed. I was like, this is awful. Like, obviously I can't pull anything off. And then that afternoon I got into YC. And so you learn to like just sort of regulate your emotional reaction. You learn to just like forget about the bad things faster.
Resilience is a thing.
Yes. If you work day and night for a decade, you too can be an overnight success.
So true.
Keep going would be my best advice. Trust yourself.
Let's go out on that. All right, bye y'all. Thank you so much for watching.
Goodbye, internet. Oh, this was so much fun.